Hi folks, I'm Steve Hindy with Showing Animals Respect and Kindness. This is a response to a video posted on YouTube by self-described investigative journalist Will Potter on June 20, 2018. The beginning of Mr. Potter's video addresses depression, suicide, and other psychological disorders. This is a very serious subject. We have compassion for people facing those challenges, and we would never attack someone for that. Unfortunately, Mr. Potter goes on to make false and defamatory statements against Shark and me, and those statements must be addressed. In 2014, Will Potter raised more than $75,000 via Kickstarter on a promise to use drones to document factory farms. The problem with Will Potter's drone project is that more than 4 years after the money was raised, there is practically no evidence of Mr. Potter's drone work. Don't take my word for it. Google Will Potter drone and see what you get. From September 2015 to March 2018, we uploaded 3 videos, and all of them combined are shorter than Mr. Potter's video, so you can see what was and what was not said. Basically, our videos ask Will Potter to account for the more than $75,000 that he admits he received. We and many other people believe that money raised for animal issues should be used for animal issues, as promised, in a timely fashion. Mr. Potter is now claiming harassment. Mr. Potter appears to believe that being held accountable for promises made and money raised amounts to bullying. It does not. The first of our videos came only after Mr. Potter had his money for more than a year, 15 months to be more specific. Drones are complicated, but they aren't rocket science, and Mr. Potter's drones should have been working in a lot less than 15 months. Shark isn't alone in asking for accountability. Many of Mr. Potter's donors made similar requests, and Mr. Potter just ignored them. You can go back and look up the posts on his Kickstarter page. Merritt and Beth Clifton of the Animal Issues news website animals247.org both raised the issue of Will Potter's drone project and questioned his claimed journalistic credentials in 2015. Taking money for animal issues and then not moving forward with that money not only hurts the animals, it also damages the credibility of the animal protection movement. Shark has created a website, charitycops.com, which exposes a number of groups and individuals for similar behavior. Mr. Potter is not the only person we've asked to explain where the money has gone, because there are, unfortunately, a number of individuals and organizations with questionable fundraising and/or a lack of results. I understand Mr. Potter not liking this kind of attention, but the way to end that negative exposure is to either make good on his promise of using drones for animals or give back the more than $75,000 he took from his donors. For more than 4 years, he has done neither. Mr. Potter claims he is overworked, but it appears that he is able to attend many speaking opportunities and photo ops. If Mr. Potter has the time and energy to raise his profile and make money and accept awards, then he should be able to live up to his promise to donors to fly drones to expose factory farm abuses. In his video, Mr. Potter apologizes for not adequately updating his donors.
That being said, my Kickstarter supporters have shown enormous trust and generosity, and I should have been much more communicative throughout this entire process.
He also claims he will soon be releasing some drone photos.
The photos from my drone investigations will be released this summer.
The problem is, over the years, we've heard it all before. If you review his Kickstarter page, he repeatedly apologizes for not updating donors. He repeatedly promises impending results. They're right around the corner, and then there's nothing. Here are just a few excerpts from his updates. Update 2. June 2014. I'm already working around the clock with photographers and journalists in multiple countries to craft a plan for expanding the project. 4 years later, there's no word about those photographers and journalists in multiple countries. Update 3, June 2014. It will be an enormous undertaking, but through Kickstarter, I've already met other journalists, academics, activists, and lawyers who are eager to participate. In addition to journalists, Mr. Potter mentions academics, activists, and lawyers. 4 years later, where are they? January 2015, Update 14. First, I need to apologize for the delay in this update. And I'm enlisting a lot of help moving forward, though, and I'm excited about what has already been accomplished. There is more talk of help, but according to Mr. Potter's past updates, he was already working with journalists, activists, filmmakers, lawyers, and academics from multiple countries. Also, Mr. Potter says he's excited about what has already been accomplished. But what has been accomplished? Mr. Potter goes on. I'm coordinating the release of my drone footage with several outlets, but with this project, it is really important that the video footage meet both technical and journalistic standards so that it can be distributed much wider through major media outlets. In July 2015, Mr. Potter spoke at the National Animal Rights Conference. He was on a 3-person panel that was supposed to speak about drones. The other 2 speakers, one of whom was a shark investigator, discussed drones and displayed video documentation. Mr. Potter, however, showed no drone footage. Here's what he said.
In this presentation, I'm not able to talk about some of those investigations right now because I'm working with a few media outlets that want to be the ones to have that out there first.
Mr. Potter promises that results are coming, but he displayed neither video footage nor aerial stills. He claims to be working with, quote, a few media outlets that want to be the ones to have it out there first, unquote. Please remember that. December 2015, Update 17. I want to apologize for this extremely overdue update, and the drone investigations are going well, and I've included some sample photos below. But this, along with the developments below, has become way too much for one person. Okay, but Mr. Potter has repeatedly posted about the journalists, academics, activists, and lawyers from multiple countries who are involved. What's going on? As for the pictures he posted, here they are. All 3 of them, and only one is a drone shot. I find them to be underwhelming at best. June 2017, Update 20. Mr. Potter says he's going on a trip and states, I'm also excited to share some new drone photos of factory farms when I return. That was more than a year ago. Contrary to his promise, no new photos of factory farms were posted when Mr. Potter returned or since. Like I said, we've heard Mr. Potter's promises before, and I've heard similar fundraising pitches before in the animal protection movement. There are various schemes to get people pumped up and ready to part with their money. There's the hype, followed by the money rolling in, followed by the excuses. Shark and I have a 30-year history of cutting through trumpery. Usually, trumpery comes from animal abusers, or the cruel corporations who sponsor them, or law enforcement or government agencies who protect them. Sometimes, trumpery comes from people claiming to protect animals. When the claims and the facts just don't add up, you have trumpery no matter who is selling it. Often, as in the case of Mr. Potter's pitch, the hype is based on something that can potentially be accomplished. Those of us at Shark know that drones can be used to help animals because we did just that for 4 years before Mr. Potter's pitch, and we have flown them ever since. Now, moving on to Will Potter's claims against Shark and me. Every one of Mr. Potter's falsehoods is important because Will Potter claims to be a journalist. Google ethics in journalism, and you'll find many sites stressing the importance of accuracy and telling the truth. We've included a link to the Society of Professional Journalists in the description section of this video. Truth and accuracy is everything to a real, dedicated journalist. Mr. Potter paints me as a conspiracy theorist. Shark doesn't support conspiracy theories. We expose them. One conspiracy was between rodeo people and law enforcement in Oregon.
I didn't want to stop him there. Call 2-1. We're going to be on a little bit under. All because of rodeo.
exposed that conspiracy, we sued, and we received a settlement. Our efforts resulted in horse tripping being banned in Oregon. A conspiracy theory accusation against Shark or me is amazing coming from a person who has built his image on reporting about real conspiratorial endeavors such as secret prisons and ag-gag laws. Does Mr. Potter believe that the only true conspiracies are the ones he talks about? The irony of Mr. Potter's accusation is apparently lost on him. In his video, Mr. Potter says this.
He particularly loves doing the street confrontations, just like Alex Jones, and then putting a video of himself with a bloodied face or someone pulling a gun on him on the internet to show how brave he is and how much of a hero he is.
What Mr. Potter clearly does not understand is that when animal abusers are exposed, they often become violent. Of course, we show that because it's an important point.
Get on the ground, motherfucker. Right now.
Pull back.
Get on the ground.
Get away. If Mr. Potter ever follows through on his promise to fly over factory farms, he will be faced with the same kind of nasty characters.
You fucking asshole hit me!
He will experience the same kind of incidents, and I'm certain he will put them up on his website.
Hey, you want to see my dick too? Hey, you want to see my dick?
Oh, pass.
We expose what happens to animals at the hands of cruel, violent people, and we show that violence against animals translates into violence against people. Will Potter appears to mock me because our opposition commits assaults. It's not just me. Others also get attacked, including women.
Get away!
Don't you take my picture! Don't take my picture! Don't take my picture! I'm calling the cop.
What are you filming me for? What are you filming me for?
We're showing the kind of people who abuse animals. Mr. Potter appears to be siding with the animal abusers in a desperate attempt to put Shark in a negative light. Shark is not just me. The members of Shark are an extraordinarily talented and dedicated team, and they've accomplished incredible things. The animal protection movement could use a lot more people like the Shark investigators. I won't bother refuting Mr. Potter's numerous lies about me and his personal insults. His behavior is counter to common decency, much less journalistic integrity. And if you don't possess that integrity, then you aren't an ethical journalist, no matter how many awards or titles you gather up for status or ego. Furthermore, those who know Shark's work know better than to believe Mr. Potter's vitriol. Mr. Potter states that when we felt he wasn't moving fast enough on his drone project, I started, quote, going for blood, unquote. Again, we've included the links to the videos we've made about Mr. Potter so you can see for yourself. 15 months after he raised more than $75,000 with no visible activity, we reasonably raised the issue of where the money went, and Mr. Potter did not respond. We're not going for blood. We're looking for accountability and transparency, which are hallmarks of journalism. Let me address 3 accusations Mr. Potter makes in just one sentence.
This conduct starts to make my partner and my children physically afraid. At the point it starts reaching my university, telling them to fire me, or it reaches TED, telling them that they shouldn't be publishing my talks and my writing, that's kind of when I have to speak up.
First, I don't know anything about Mr. Potter's family or where he lives. He apparently works at a college, but that's all I know about that. I don't know or care about Mr. Potter's personal life. As for Mr. Potter claiming that we tried to get him fired, on the description section of this video, we've posted a link to a March 16, 2018 email from Shark investigator Stu Chaffetz to administrators at the University of Michigan. Nowhere in that email is there an attempt to get Mr. Potter fired. What you do find is a recurrent theme. We ask that you investigate this and call on Mr. Potter to answer the questions raised in our videos and what happened to all the money he took from donors. Unfortunately, there was no response from anyone at the university. Mr. Potter's claim that we tried to get him fired is a lie. We tried to get information about the money he raised because money given to animal projects should be used for animal projects. Mr. Potter claims that there was trolling, vile messages, and threats, and he insinuates that those actions came from us. That is certainly and most disturbingly false. No legitimate journalist, no ethical journalist makes such baseless claims. These accusations are truly shameful. Even more appalling is the public statement in support of Mr. Potter by TED Talks. Mr. Potter mentions TED in his video, and in a post by TED fellow program director Shoham Arad, which doesn't actually name Shark, it states the following: "The behavior of the group has caused Will to feel unsafe on many levels. Their aggressive tactics have aimed to threaten his livelihood and have made his family feel at risk. We respectfully ask that this group stop employing such tactics against Will." Let me again be absolutely clear. Shark has done nothing to cause Mr. Potter or his family to feel unsafe. This is completely fabricated. What we have done is to hold a few organizations and individuals, including Will Potter, accountable for significant sums of money raised to ostensibly help animals with no measurable result. And when we went to TED for some assistance in that regard, the organization was and continues to be of no help whatsoever. TED's statements about Shark are false, and Mr. Potter's statements are slanderous. 3 videos and a few emails over the course of a few years is not harassment. It is a minimal effort to find out what happened to the money given for an animal cause. In the case of Mr. Potter, his lack of results are not over a period of a week or two, or a month or two, but for more than 4 years. If he was overwhelmed, Mr. Potter could have worked with other people. In fact, he claimed he was doing just that in his updates. Quote, "I've met other journalists, academics, activists, and lawyers who are eager to participate," unquote. Nevertheless, Mr. Potter's inaction continued for more than 4 years. He could have returned the money, but he did not, and has not, for more than 4 years. Will Potter not only chose, but worked hard to make himself a public figure, and TED is part of that equation. As a public figure, Mr. Potter is not beyond scrutiny, and a true journalist does not ask for that kind of pass. A true journalist in this situation, faced with a very significant project delay, would be transparent. Now TED claims that Mr. Potter's project has been reviewed and things are fine. No details provided of any kind. That's not transparency, and I am shocked that this is considered acceptable by TED Talks. After more than 4 years, donors and the public deserve more than empty assurances. At Shark, we don't run from false accusations. I therefore invite Mr. Potter's supporters, and especially TED members, and University of Michigan administrators to send me emails with any questions or issues you may have. Here's my email address. It is also posted in the description section of this video. Unlike Will Potter, I am willing to talk or debate and to be held accountable. Shark and I have a 30-year history of working on the front lines of animal abuse. We regularly document terrible, unspeakable things done to animals. In order to bring these issues to the world, we have to watch. Then we have to watch over and over to prepare video presentations. The images sear into your memory, into your very soul. You don't forget them during the day, and they positively haunt you at night. Sometimes you feel like you're going to explode. Other times you feel like you will implode, but you keep at it. Why? Because every day is another opportunity to make positive change. Every day is another day to save lives, and we don't want to allow those opportunities to pass by. Let me make this clear. We're not interested in your sympathy. Like any other investigator or journalist, we choose to do what we do. Somebody has to do it. What we do is not for everyone. If someone feels they can't keep it up, or they're exhausted, or depressed, or just plain burned out, there's no shame in taking a breather. Take some time to regroup. But if you have resources, like more than $75,000, and you can't put it to use for an extended period of time, give the money back so it can be used on other projects. 4 years is too long to wait for animals who need saving now and have needed saving every day for more than 4 years. 4 years is too long. To those of you who have thrown your support behind Mr. Potter without knowing all the facts, please open your minds and search out the truth. Only fools follow blindly. Mr. Potter's falsehoods in his YouTube video demonstrates that he is spending time not finally making good on his commitments, but rather looking for scapegoats behind which to hide. We sincerely hope that Mr. Potter gets the care, whatever care he needs. That he may suffer from depression or PTSD or any other condition, however, does not give him a right to make false claims in an attempt to silence his critics. Being suicidal or, quote, haven't been doing very well, unquote, is not a license to be irresponsible or duplicitous. Using mental illness as an excuse for bad behavior only harms the reputation of people who are leading honest and productive lives despite dealing with life's stresses and significant challenges. For more information on those who are profiting off the suffering of animals, please visit charitycops.com. I'm Steve Hindy for Showing Animals Respect and Kindness.